United Nations is applauding the impact of a recent order by South Sudanese President Salva Kiir to allow humanitarian aid convoys to move freely in the country. The agency says the unhindered passage is helping people get aid as the young nation struggles with years of conflict. The UN previously accused Kiir's government of using food as a weapon of war to target civilians by blocking life-saving aid in some areas. Take a look.
For a long time, violence and restrictions on humanitarian aid convoys in South Sudan prevented civilians from getting the much-needed aid. Donor agencies in the country still face some challenges with distributing food to civilians displaced by conflict in the country. But a recent presidential decree ordering free movement for humanitarians in the country is a good development for the aid community. At a news conference in Juba, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for South Sudan is optimistic that the safe passage will help improve intervention.
It's about the people who need the assistance. It's not about me or you or anybody. So if you try to really say that, how do we make sure that if this family or this woman or these children is actually in need of help, we make sure we get there. This is what all humanitarian access was about. It's not just a word on itself. It's about actually making sure we reach the people in need.
President Salva Kiir's move comes after repeated calls and widespread criticisms. The United States had also expressed loss of trust in his government and threatened to withdraw support. The president yielded to calls and agreed to eliminate illegal checkpoints in September, subsequently setting up a high-level humanitarian oversight committee to improve cooperation with aid groups. In a recent report to the UN Security Council, UN Sanctions Monitor accused Mr. Kiir's government of using food as a weapon of war to target civilians by blocking life-saving aid in some areas. The war in South Sudan, sparked by a feud between Mr. Kiir and his former deputy Riek Machar, has plunged parts of the world's youngest nation into famine. Some 4 million people have fled their homes. About 215,000 people live in protection of civilian sites next to UN bases in South Sudan. In recent months, a joint initiative to support their return home has been making progress, with 13,000 people in Bentiu choosing to move home.
When it comes to protection, it's not just about where people are, where people can be in terms of where you have a protection side. It's also regarding all the things that you can do to make sure the broader environment where people actually living is actually conducive for them to actually living freely in a protected and safe environment.
About 4.5 million people in the country are experiencing severe food insecurity. According to aid agency Save the Children, large parts of the country risk farming early next year as South Sudan struggles to overcome a war that has left millions homeless.
Well, still in East Africa, Somalia has been without an effective central government since 1991. The persistent threat of the Somali-based Al-Shabaab terrorist group has displaced citizens and disrupted the residents' their residents' way of life. But amid these challenges, there is hope, inspiration, and even boldness from a young female mechanic. Africa 54's Esther Ewart has that inspiring story.
It is a first in many ways for 18-year-old Nasra Haji Hussein. She is Somalia's first female auto mechanic working at a service garage in the capital, Mogadishu. 2 years ago, Nasra embarked on a 10-day journey from her home in Hiran to get to Mogadishu in search of a job. But working as a mechanic was not one of the options in her mind. After several months of job hunting without success, she approached mechanics at a service garage and found an opportunity as an apprentice. In this male-dominated field, Nasra was ridiculed and discouraged by many, but she says over time she was able to build a regular customer base in a country where jobs are scarce.
I repaired different types of cars, luxury cars, bulletproof cars, and pickups. Sometimes I service trucks when they are brought to the garage.
For many youths in Somalia, getting education or even finding a job is difficult with the economic and security challenges Somalia continues to face. Nasra says her hard work supports her elderly father and mother, who is unwell. Somalia has been without an effective central government since the overthrow of dictator Mohamed Siad Barre in 1991. Successive governments have been embroiled in war with Islamist rebels who want to impose their own harsh version of Sharia law on the nation. Working in what is traditionally seen as a male domain, Nasra says she was chided for taking up the job, but over time she began to win customers like Nook's Sheikh Abdi.
She has repaired my car very well, and she did it right on time, just as we agreed.
She says with her father's encouragement, she is able to make $300 a month at the garage.
When I came to the city, I wasn't encouraged. No one offered me a job, so I decided to become a mechanic to help my family. When I got paid and sent money to my parents, my father asked me where I got the money from, and I told him that I'm a mechanic. He encouraged me to work harder.
By challenging gender stereotypes in a country like Somalia with limited opportunities, Nasra has been able to acquire new skills and build a career, and at the same time improve the quality of life for her family. After work, she spends time relaxing at home or having a friend come over for a cup of tea. Esther Gidui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Well, and that's our show for today. Now, you can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. And be sure to join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Joke Rogers has our last word from Lagos.
Thanks, Vincent. We look forward to bringing you another show next week. ChannelsTV.com is your source for news, sports, and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.